Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the next episode of the Two Tokens podcast. Today we're going to discuss the Two Token, but before we get there, I'll have a brief introduction of the guests. Next to me is sitting Mieszko Cisik from Thanks Network, the CEO, and Iris Zeeman, growth hacker of Two Tokens. First, a little bit about Two Tokens and tokenization as a whole. The context of Web3 tokenization is digitizing of assets known as tokens in any way you can think and imagine that you can do. And these tokens reside on a blockchain network. They can represent anything of value that you can think of, real estate, art, but also money. We're not going to talk about that. Today, the talk is about a community token, the Two Token. Two Token itself is a foundation that was set up a few years ago to make sure that the market is aware of tokenization. And what we do is we create use cases. We do that with market parties, and that are our partners. They bring in a use case. We are the director of the use case, and we will search for other market parties that are in the same value chain to make sure that a token can be used in that whole value chain. We did a couple of different use cases already. More on that you can find on the website of Two Tokens. As I said, we are the director of these use cases. We find these market parties and we share that information with the different market parties in roundtable sessions and podcasts like these. For that, we also have the partners are usually companies, and for individuals, we have a fellowship arrangement since, I would say, a couple of months that we are setting up this. And that's what we're going to talk about, how the fellows can also learn and contribute to these use cases and what the benefits from these tokens are in this particular matter. I've said enough, I must say. So now I'm going back to Mieszko, because Mieszko has quite some experience with these tokens and is working on that fellowship token together with Iris. So Mieszko, how did you get into contact with Two Tokens, and what do you think about the Two Token project as a whole?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for the great intro. First of all, thank you for having me. You know, my company has been active in the Dutch ecosystem for a while, so we know the players which are around. We also know Two Tokens. I saw some of the things you were doing, like the energy token you mentioned. And at the time, like a few months ago, we were in the Techstars accelerator, and some of your members visited there. Mentioned that, look, Two Tokens is looking to tokenize their fellowships, right? That's basically the core of the idea. And we think that your solution might be a good match. So we discovered this at the time at Techstars. I think I joined a meetup, which was very well done here in Amsterdam, and really got inspired to contribute. That's basically the story.
Yes, and Iris, you're responsible within Two Tokens for this Two Token use case, these fellowship tokens. What do you think the fellows? How do the fellows get to us, and how do you think that they can be more engaged in what we're doing while using this Two Token?
Yeah, so basically why we started the Two Token use case is to actually show the people, Europe, the world, that it's super easy to use tokens, for example, in your community. And that's why we launched this Two Token use case, starting with the fellowship token for individuals to join the Two Token movement and actually contribute to what we are working on. And it's actually creating this path towards tokenization. And becoming a fellow, you join a community of a lot of experts and people who are very interested in this new technology. And we bring them all together on our private Discord server so they get connected and they can work together, for example, in these different use cases that we have, but also the events that we host. So basically becoming a fellow means that you own this token. And with that token, you get access to our events, priority access, because, for example, the round tables that we host like 3 times a year are usually very full, and we have to really select who can join and who not. So by becoming a fellow, you have early access to these events, but also discounts. And at the moment, we are running token economy masterclasses, and we are going to create like a summary for the people that were not able or couldn't attend. And we can share, like, for example, this really extensive summary with the fellows. So we have like exclusive content, events that they can attend as well, apart from being part of the community.
Okay, and if I look, so, and going back to Miesco again, so if it's a sort of eating your own dog food, what Two Token is doing at the moment, you create something that you believe in, a token, which shows you a ownership, or in this case participation in a movement, as Iris said. How does that technically work?
Yeah, so we try to make it as easy as possible for people, because in our experience, one thing that can be improved is the user experience of using tokens, blockchain technology. So you don't need extensions in your browser like you needed up till now. You go to the website, so it's already there on twotokens.org. There's a small little gift box in the lower right corner. You click on it and you can start engaging with everything what Two Tokens does, start earning some community rewards, and eventually upgrade to the Two Token Fellowship. Right, and you get basically all of these interactions happen there. So that makes it super easy. And also, we'll be working with partners such as Guts ticketing for the events, and also these tokenized tickets will be visible in the widget. So that's also a very powerful way of integrating partners.
And so these tickets are sort of collectibles as well?
Basically, yes. Like you said, tokens can represent almost anything. So ticketing is one of the use cases that's quite popular, and Guts is doing a great job there. And Get Protocol. The Two Token will give exclusive access to these tickets. But that's also what's interesting, that we are building this together as we go. And we can, well, at least not the technology, but the ideas of what these tokens can mean and do. And I think it's going to be really awesome.
Okay, so this is one of the things that you're working on at Thanks Network. What else are you working in that is more or less related to what we, Iris and Two Tokens, are trying to achieve?
Yeah, so we're doing, we have a lot of customers and many use cases. The easiest for us is to operate in gaming, actually. Okay. Why? Because people already are very accustomed to having digital assets, not per se blockchain based, but digital assets have been around for a long, long time, and they love collecting them, they love buying them, selling them, and all of that. So it's very easy for us to launch our solution to them, and they really want it. So we have a couple of customers in gaming, such as Tryhard from the Netherlands and a couple of others. But also in non-profit sector like Two Tokens, where goals are different, where it's more about getting your members, or at least community members, more involved. You call them fellows, right? And maybe also a bit about donations and things like that. Supporting a non-profit community is also something we see a lot. We have a couple of big brands everybody knows, which we'll be working on later this year, but I'm really eager to mention them, but I'm not allowed.
Okay.
This is the first in the series of this podcast, so we'll be back for 2 and 3, and I'll be happy to mention those as well.
Okay, then going to you again, Iris, you talked a bit about the benefits that you have created right now. How do you see that evolving into the future? What kind of rewards or benefits, and can you share that with other people in that network?
Yes, that is exactly what Miesco mentioned as well. Having a use case and collaborating with several partners in one use case, you are building on it along the way. The goal is to build this MVP within a year, and to actually be able within a year to answer this question: what can we do and how can we elaborate? You have different tokens, for example, governance tokens, that at one point the fellows could, for example, vote or give their opinion or something on the things that we are working on. So there are a lot of options and opportunities and different tokens that we can use. But at the moment, we are really focusing on this fellowship right now, the loyalty, so to actually reward them, and also to integrate this with the ticketing via Guts.
Okay, I see. So you have these partnerships on the one side. These are the companies, the corporates that bring in these use cases. And you have the fellowships that can also participate in these use cases and also steer in a direction that is via voting?
Could be, exactly. Yeah, so in this particular use case, we really want to get the fellows involved as well in what we are doing, and especially with the knowledge that we gain. As we said, it's really easy to use tokens and to just do it. You can see it with Thanks Network, but with Guts, and also what we are doing at the moment. And we try to create this link with the legislation in the Netherlands and in Europe. And that's why we've built this roadmap called tokenroadmap.org. NL. And there you can see what you need to take into consideration when you launch, what kind of token, etc. So we really try to educate them as well. And we're also building a best practices guide. So everything that we learn and what we do in our working group, we want to share that knowledge with the world.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe to add to that, that's what I love about Two Tokens as well, right? This knowledge sharing, and everything we do, we write it down in Notion, right? There's already a lot of pages there, and my personal, goal is to be able to share these best practices as a sort of simple framework how communities can tokenize. First in the Netherlands, later in Europe. I think there's a lot of opportunities there, also connecting to questions like legal ones, fiscal ones, and all of this, which people obviously have, right? Yeah. So I think that's great. And one of the other products is tokenroadmap.nl, right, which explains a lot of token utilities, different type of tokens. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in all these things.
Okay, so the cooperation with Two Tokens, as a foundation, there is no gains, there's no profit there. The dissemination of the information, that's the main goal. And also learning. Are you learning as well during this journey, or are you bringing or just taking, or how can I see it?
Well, like I said, we're making it as easy as possible, but I still see every day that for customers, basically, Two Tokens is behaving like our customer, right? It's not entirely the same type of relationship, but it's similar. But I still see we can improve on a lot of things to make it even easier. And the only way to do it, to improve in that way, is to do it, right? So you really have to be involved. And yes, it takes a bit of time and a bit of pain, but we'll have a better product in the end.
So the dissemination, so we started with these roundtables, podcasts, knowledge sessions. You said there's a lot of interest in the roundtables. There's a lot of people coming. We do it 3 times a year. How do you see that evolving? Because I don't see us getting a big hall with all these tables and still having discussion. Because it's just a phase in the research and development, right? It's a result that's being presented there, and it's being discussed in all these tables, and also leads to a further evolvement of the whole process, right?
Yeah, exactly. For example, that moment from the roundtable session when we share the knowledge, it's really important that we focus on the topics that we assess, for example, with our use cases. So on our upcoming roundtable event, we will focus more on the topics that we come across with our two-token use case. And eventually that MVP that you build, or eventually maybe like a real business model that you find, you really want to put that into practice in the end and maybe build standards so that other ones can use these token standards as well. For example, with the energy token working group. So it's knowledge, but in the end, you really want to share the knowledge and to actually be able to put it into practice, and that other industries and companies can also make use of it.
And really from a holistic view, right? Not just the tech part and the community part, but also the legal part and the economical side of things as well. And how do you see that, Mieszko? Do you get information out of it which you didn't have before because the partners that bring in the legal side of things, for instance?
Yeah, and absolutely. And, this space is also evolving all the time, right? So there is new legislation coming up, like or at least every professional in this business knows, the MiCA. In my personal opinion, it will make a lot of things a bit more clear. So that's nice. But you have to be ready, right, to use it in the proper way. And preparing for that, you need to start now, right? Not when it's there. It's been approved, I think, and it will be effective in you know better than I do. But it will probably be there in a year and a half. I think.
A year and a half, something like that. Yeah. When it's now approved by Brussels, and then is brought back to the member states, and the member states have to anchor that into local legislation.
Yeah, that's going to be lovely.
It's going to be fun, but that's only the starting point, right? Because when it's there, the regulators come in and they have to oversee what's happening in that market. And the question, of course, is that being done in the same way with the same expertise in every member country? Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a tough one. Whether you don't want to be the one that's being the toughest on all these rules and regulations, and you don't want to be the easiest either. So
yeah, for us as a product, we don't want to be left behind, right? So
Right.
so that's the important thing. I don't want to talk about Mika extensively. That's for another day.
And I
But
don't
was-
think it even covers all of the tokens, right?
yeah,
It's just a fraction.
but it's just an example, and there are many others where we can learn, improve. In my personal experience, our customers are more worried about GDPR, privacy. That's somehow more on the radar than the legal considerations. But we have that covered because we did some projects for big customers in the past for the United Nations. So that's super good. But I'm pretty sure that when this legislation hits, then suddenly everybody will, oh. So my goal is to not be surprised and ready by then. And I'm sure we will be.
okay, and that's a thing that you expect to have two tokens role in getting that information to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great. I don't have to buy super expensive lawyers all the time. I can depend a bit on the network, but in the end, it's our company's responsibility to get this done. So yes, knowledge sharing is great, but my job is to apply it.
So what happens after a year? You already mentioned about the governance of the project, the governance of the projects. We already do that in a quite formal way. We have partners, we have fellows, and they can decide upon that. The next step might be a DAO, indeed, so that you can have that organized in a tokenized way as well. It would be interesting to see if that will happen and how that relates to all the legal issues that it might have because of Mika and the tokenization. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to see that's happening in the market. How do you see that for your own business, actually?
Yeah, so good point. So Thanks Network has its own token, the Thanks token. It's been around for more than a year. It's not a financial product. Lawyers always insist to mention that. And it also gives rights for the community. So there are over 800 token holders to vote on questions or where the protocol is heading. So yes, we are experimenting with that, and for us it's been going great. The community also manages its own funds, which are separate from the BV, the company, and it works. I do think it can be improved a lot, and with two tokens and a couple of other partners here in the Netherlands, there are some talks to see if decentral organizations can be incorporated in some shape or form. I'm not sure if the lawyers have decided what the answer is, but we have some time, and we'll figure it out. I think it's very interesting, but for me, it's about practical things. So like our decentral organization has no address, right? Has no email, and cannot receive or send invoices, which at least not legally. So that's complicated when you want to do business with your decentral organization. So yeah, to be determined.
So currently you have this Discord channel where you can also propose changes and functional modifications and upvote that in a way without being a token holder already, right?
Yeah, so you don't have to be a token holder to participate, but for voting, for example, and for moving the community funds, you do.
But funds, I can imagine for the funds. Yeah.
So for instance, I think treasury management, like we call it in the blockchain space, I think it's one of the use cases that works pretty well at the moment, because as a group you can, it's relatively straightforward how you manage a group of money, and you can invest it in different, spend it on development or maybe on marketing or something else. So yeah, does that answer your question?
That answers the question. So okay, let me wrap up to see where we are in a couple of years from now, which is going to be very difficult. And perhaps I didn't ask a question that you already prepared, and then you can go into that as well. But at the moment, there is. The two tokens has quite some partners, quite some fellows as well, and we want to grow that community extensively. We're working together with Dutch Blockchain Coalition as well on that, so we take care of the tokenization part of that. How do you see the ecosystem evolving in the next few years, Iris?
That's an interesting one. Well, ideally, exponential. I mean, I see it growing, and I also think that, especially with these type of use cases that we have right now, like the two token use case, it's like that my grandma starts understanding how it actually creates value and how you can use it, and that it's not scary to use this new technology. And I hope, that a lot of people will join this movement so that we can build this path together.
Yeah, and to be able to do that, we need it to be simple, like Mieszko already said in the beginning, and like you're saying. So, and how do you see that, Mieszko? How does you and your company and your participation in 2Tokens, how will that evolve in the next couple of years?
I think the most interesting for me would be to have strong business cases that all this works, right? So I think we already have some very good indications and experiments where good results are being made. But to really show that this way of organizing your organization community is more efficient, more fun, more engaging, I think we're still not there. But that's okay. I think we should be able to show that in, let's say, a year and a half, that all of these efforts we put in actually resulted in, business goals, right? Some growth, like you mentioned, and better engagement with the partners, and more value created. That's more people reach, more value created. That's what it is about. It's not about the technology in the end.
No, it's about businesses working together, people working together, and sharing information and sharing data, etc., which are blockchains. Blockchains are not made for.
Yeah, but we need to quantify that, in my opinion, right? So it needs to have some numbers to it, and maybe some, good quotes by people experiencing that it's fun and useful for them. Looking forward to that.
Okay, I'm looking at your notes. One thing we didn't talk about at all. That's a 3-letter thing I'm seeing. That's NFT. The 2Token is an NFT?
To my knowledge, yes. I avoided the word. In some circles it's still popular, in some it's not. It's a collectible, it's a digital asset, right? I think that's a better word, or a badge, or whatever you want to call it. They have been around for ages, but suddenly we call it non-fungible token. It's a very technical word. I'm not sure if it helps much. But the 2Token will be the represent fellowship, and technically it's an NFT form. It might be even issued on the GUTS infrastructure. That's decided as we speak. But that's the cool thing about it. I think I emphasized it a few times. But the reason of why using blockchain technology here is that these tokens are accessible and shareable, and even tradable in some cases everywhere, right? So it should not matter if GUTS issues the 2Token, or if we do it, or maybe you do it yourself and you import it. It's all possible, that's the freedom the technology gives you. And that's, some of the benefits it has above more traditional database systems.
Yeah, exactly. And we launched, actually, as you mentioned today, that if you become a fellow, you will be able to claim your NFT within 30 minutes and get it actually in your wallet. Could be a Thanks network wallet, or your MetaMask, but you can centralize all the assets there.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, that's the technical part. I personally believe that in a couple of years, most people will not be using those.
The terminology anymore. It's just something under the hood, and
they will see it as a fellowship, or maybe as a membership, or a collectible.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this talk. Did I forget to ask anything, Mieszko?
I think we got a pretty complete picture of. I'm like flipping through my notes here,
and I think it's good to leave a little bit behind for next.
Okay, let's do that. Then
dive more into the details and.
Iris has a very good point. We have to leave something for the next episode.
That's good. And wrapping up, there will be a roundtable session again on the 2Token somewhere later this year. Currently, we're running the masterclasses. We're already heading to the 3rd session, and we will also do the masterclasses again after the summer. So there is already a schedule of masterclasses. And again, like Iris said, we do 3, 4 roundtables every year. There will be some, probably 2 in the second half of the year as well. And you're happily invited, and especially when you become a fellow, you've got priority access to these roundtables.
Exactly. And you can go to the website www.2tokens.org, and if you go to the tabs, you will see the event calendar. There's where you'll see the events that you just talked about.
Yeah, excellent. And some slight promotion from me as well. On the 14th of June, there is also Dutch Blockchain Week. My co-founder, Stefan Bode, will be speaking there in a breakout session. I think it's in the morning at 10:30 about token-powered loyalty. So if you want more details, check it out. Join.
How can they reach out to you? Or where can they...
You can always find me on LinkedIn, and I will get you a discount code for the event.
Like
Nice.
Mieszko Zizek is quite easy to write, so people can find you.
You'll write it.
Or-
You'll write it in
or-
descriptions.
or go to Thanks Network.
It will be in the. It will be in the.
the website.
It will be in the notes.
Perfect.
We'll make sure that there is links to all the people. And Two Tokens will be also participating in the ETH DAM event later in May, June. I don't exactly know. We said it in the notes as well, and we are hosting a panel on real world assets there. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and see you next time.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
That was it for today's podcast. Thank you for listening in, and please subscribe so you don't miss out on our upcoming episodes. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find our contact details at www.twotokens.org.